The year was 2157. Humanity had just joined the Galactic Council, a group of alien races that ruled the Milky Way. It was a big day for Earth. People were happy. They thought they were safe now. John Smith was a normal guy. He lived in New York with his wife and 2 kids. On this day, he was watching the news. The TV showed the human president shaking hands with alien leaders. John smiled. He thought about how his children would grow up in a peaceful galaxy. But John didn't know what was coming. Far away, in a secret room, the Galactic Council was meeting. They looked like different animals. Some had tentacles, some had fur, some had scales. But they all agreed on one thing: humans were dangerous. "These humans learn too fast," said a blue alien with 3 eyes. "They might take over soon." "We must stop them now," said another alien who looked like a big spider. The leader, a tall gray alien, stood up. "We have no choice. We must kill their children. It's the only way to keep humans weak." In space, huge ships started moving. They were coming to Earth. These ships had big guns. They were ready to attack. Back on Earth, it was a normal day. Kids were in school. Parents were at work. No one knew what was about to happen. Suddenly, the sky turned dark. People looked up. They saw giant ships blocking the sun. At first, they thought it was the Galactic Council coming to visit, but then the ships started shooting. Bright beams of light hit schools, parks, and homes. Buildings exploded. Trees caught fire. People started running and screaming. John was at work when it happened. He felt the ground shake. He heard loud booms. He ran to the window and saw the alien ships. His heart stopped. "My kids," he yelled. He ran out of his office. The streets were chaos. Cars crashed into each other. People were crying and shouting. John ran as fast as he could. He had to get to his children's school. When he got there, his heart broke. The school was gone. There was just a big hole in the ground. John fell to his knees. He couldn't believe it. His children were gone. All over the world, the same thing was happening. Millions of children were dying. The Galactic Council was killing Earth's future. In Washington, D.C., the human president was angry. "Why are they doing this?" He shouted. "We had a peace deal." His advisors didn't know what to say. They watched helplessly as more ships arrived. The attack lasted for hours. When it was over, Earth was quiet. Too quiet. No children were laughing or playing. Smoke rose from destroyed buildings. John walked home slowly. The streets were empty now. He saw other parents crying. Some were holding toys or small shoes. John felt numb. When he got home, his wife was there. They hugged each other and cried. They had lost everything. That night, Earth was dark. But in homes and bunkers, something was changing. Sadness turned to anger. People wanted answers. They wanted justice. In a secret room under the White House, the president met with world leaders. Their faces were hard and angry. "They betrayed us," said the president. "They killed our children. This cannot stand." A general stood up. "Sir, we have a plan. It's called Project Phoenix. We can fight back." The president nodded. "Do it. Whatever it takes. Humanity will have its revenge." As the night went on, the people of Earth made a promise. They would remember this day. They would make the Galactic Council pay. The war had just begun. A week had passed since the attack. The world was different now. Quiet. Sad. Angry. John Smith walked through the streets of New York. The city looked like a ghost town. Broken buildings. Empty parks. No children laughing or playing. He saw a teddy bear on the ground. John picked it up. His eyes filled with tears. He remembered his daughter's favorite toy. Now she was gone. All over the world, people were in shock. They couldn't believe what had happened. The Galactic Council, their new friends, had killed their children. In London, a mother sat in her son's room. She held his baseball glove. She hadn't moved for days. In Tokyo, a father stared at his daughter's school uniform. He couldn't stop crying. The world leaders met again. This time, it wasn't in a fancy room. They met in a bunker deep underground. "We need answers," said the U.S. president. His face looked older now. Tired. Angry. "We've tried to contact the Galactic Council," said a woman. She was from China. "They won't answer." "Then we make them answer," said the Russian leader. His fist hit the table hard. They all agreed. It was time to act. On TV, the U.S. president spoke to the world. His voice was strong, but his eyes were sad. "My fellow humans," he said, "we have been betrayed. Our children, our future, have been taken from us. But we are not defeated. We will rise. We will fight back. And we will win." People watched from their homes. Some cried. Some nodded. All felt a fire growing inside them. John watched the speech with his wife, Sarah. They held hands tight. "What do we do now?" Sarah asked. Her voice was quiet. John looked at her. His eyes were hard. "We fight," he said. All over the world, people started to move. They weren't just sad anymore. They were angry. They wanted to do something. In secret labs, scientists worked day and night. They studied alien technology left behind after the attack. "Look at this," said Dr. Lee. She held up a strange metal. "It's stronger than anything on Earth. We can use this." In hidden bases, soldiers trained hard. They learned new ways to fight. They prepared for space battles. General Adams watched them train. "We were not ready before," he said. "We will be ready next time." People started to change. They became harder, stronger, united. In schools, they taught about space and aliens. In factories, they built new weapons and ships. John joined the new Earth Defense Force. Many people did. They wanted to protect what was left, to fight back. Sarah became a scientist. She worked on new technology to defend Earth. "For our children," she said every day. But not everything was about war. People also came together to help each other. In parks where children once played, they built memorials. Names of lost children written in stone. Flowers and toys left by parents. John and Sarah visited one of these memorials. They left a teddy bear for their daughter, a toy car for their son. "We will make this right," John said. Sarah nodded. As days passed, Earth changed. Cities were rebuilt, stronger, better protected. People worked together like never before. In space, Earth's first real warships were almost ready. They were big, powerful, built for revenge. The Galactic Council had made a big mistake. They thought killing Earth's children would make humans weak. It made them stronger, more determined. Now, as the stars shone down on a changed Earth, humanity was getting ready. They had a message for the Galactic Council, a message written in the determined faces of every human, in the hum of new factories, in the roar of training grounds. The message was clear. Humanity was coming, and they wanted justice. 3 months had passed since the attack. The world's leaders met again. This time, they gathered in a secret base deep under the Rocky Mountains. The room was tense. Everyone knew why they were here. It was time to decide humanity's next move. The U.S. president stood up. He looked at the faces around him, men and women from every country, all united by loss and anger. "We've mourned," he said. "We've rebuilt. Now it's time to act." A screen lit up on the wall. It showed Earth's new fleet, sleek ships made with alien tech, powerful weapons that could destroy planets. General Adams stepped forward. "Our forces are ready," he said. "We can strike at any time." But not everyone agreed. The leader from India spoke up. "Are we ready for war? The Galactic Council is powerful. We might lose everything." The room got quiet. It was a hard question, one everyone had thought about. Then a new voice spoke. It was John Smith. He wasn't a leader or a general. He was just a father who had lost his children. But now he represented all of humanity. "We've already lost everything," John said. His voice was soft but strong. "Our children, our future. What else can they take?" He looked around the room. "But we're still here. We're still fighting. And we won't stop until we get justice." The room was silent. Then, one by one, people started to nod. The Chinese president stood up. "John is right," she said. "We can't let fear stop us. We must fight back." More leaders agreed. The mood in the room changed. Now there was energy, purpose. The U.S. president nodded. "Then it's decided," he said. "We go to war." But this wasn't just about fighting. They needed a plan, a way to win against a powerful enemy. Dr. Lee, the lead scientist, stepped up. "We've learned a lot from their technology," she said. "We've found a weakness." She showed a map of the galaxy. "The Council's power comes from unity," she explained. "If we can break that unity, we can win." A plan started to form. They would not just attack the Council. They would break it apart. "We'll show other races how the Council betrayed us," said the Russian leader. "We'll turn them against each other." It was a bold plan, dangerous, but it could work. As the meeting went on, they worked out the details. They called it Operation Phoenix. Like the mythical bird, humanity would rise from the ashes. John listened to the plans. He thought about his children, about all the children lost. "This is for them," he thought. The meeting ended late at night. As people left, there was a new feeling in the air. Hope, determination. Outside, the stars shone bright. Somewhere out there, the Galactic Council was waiting. They thought they had won. They were wrong. In labs around the world, scientists worked on new weapons. In secret bases, soldiers trained harder than ever. John went back home to Sarah. She saw the look in his eyes and knew. "It's happening, isn't it?" she asked. John nodded. "We're going to fight," he said. "For our kids, for everyone." Sarah hugged him tight. "Then we'll fight together," she said. As the night went on, the news spread. Not all the details, but enough. Humanity was going to war. In cities and towns, people gathered. They looked up at the stars. For so long, those stars had meant wonder and hope. Now they meant something else. A promise. A promise that humanity would not forget, would not forgive, would not rest until justice was done. The Galactic Council had started this war, but humanity was going to finish it. 6 months had passed since the decision to fight back. Earth was buzzing with activity. Everyone had a job to do, a part to play in Operation Phoenix. John Smith stood in a huge underground factory. He watched as workers built new spaceships. These weren't like any ships Earth had before. They were bigger, stronger, made to fight. "Amazing, isn't it?" Sarah said, walking up to him. She wore a lab coat now. A badge showed she was a lead scientist. John nodded. "I never thought we'd come so far so fast," he said. Nearby, a group of soldiers trained. They wore special suits that let them breathe in space. They practiced fighting in zero gravity. General Adams watched them. "Faster," he shouted. "The enemy won't wait for you to be ready." All over the world, scenes like this played out. In Africa, scientists worked on new AI systems to control Earth's defense networks. In South America, they grew special plants that could make medicine and food in space. But it wasn't just about making weapons and ships. Humanity had to learn about their enemy. In a secret room in Europe, a team worked day and night. They studied every bit of information about the Galactic Council. They learned about other alien races, about space politics. "Look at this," one analyst said. She pointed to a map. "These races here, they're not happy with the Council. We could use that." Her boss nodded. "Good work. We'll pass this to the diplomats." Yes, Earth had diplomats ready too. They would try to talk to other races, to find allies. or at least to stop others from helping the council. Back in New York, John visited a new school, but this wasn't a normal school. Here, they taught kids about space, about aliens, about war. "We have to be ready," the teacher said. "All of us, even the young ones." John felt sad seeing kids learn about war, but he knew it was needed. This was the world now. In orbit around Earth, the first of the new warships was almost ready. It was huge, like a flying city. Inside, engineers ran final checks. "Weapons are green," one said. "Shields at full power." The captain smiled. "Good. Earth's first Star Destroyer is ready to fly." But not everything was about war. People still tried to live normal lives. They went to work. They fell in love. They had hope. In a park, John saw a couple getting married. They stood near a memorial for lost children. It was a mix of sadness and hope, the way all of Earth felt now. As night fell, John and Sarah stood on their roof. They looked at the stars. "Do you think we can win?" Sarah asked. John was quiet for a moment. "I don't know," he said, "but I know we have to try." Sarah nodded. She pointed to a bright star. "That's where we're going, right?" "Yes," John said. "That's where the council is, where we'll find justice." As they watched, a light moved across the sky. It was one of Earth's new ships, testing its engines, getting ready for the big jump to other stars. All over Earth, people looked up and saw it. For some, it brought fear, the fear of more war, more loss. But for most, it brought hope, a chance to fight back, to make things right. In his office, the President of Earth, a new title for a new age, looked at reports. Everything was almost ready. Soon, humanity would take its first steps into a larger war. He thought of all the work, all the sacrifice, all for this moment, to take the fight to the stars. "We're coming," he whispered to the night sky. "Ready or not, we're coming." The day had finally come. Earth was ready to strike back. John Smith stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, the Phoenix. Around him, crew members worked at their stations. Everyone was tense, excited, scared. "All systems are go," said the ship's eye. Its voice was calm, too calm for such a big moment. General Adams nodded. He looked at John. "Ready?" John thought of his lost children, of all the lost children. "Ready," he said. The general turned to the crew. "Let's make history," he said. With a flash of light, the Phoenix jumped into hyperspace. Other ships followed. Earth's first attack fleet was on its way. Back on Earth, people gathered around screens. They watched as the fleet left. Some cried. Some cheered. All hoped. In her lab, Sarah worked fast. She was trying to finish a new weapon, something that could change the war. "Come on," she whispered. "Work." The fleet traveled for days. Finally, they reached their target. A small Galactic Council outpost. Not too big, not too hard. A good first test. "Drop out of hyperspace," General Adams ordered. The stars came back into view. There, floating in space, was the outpost. It looked peaceful, unaware. "They've spotted us," a crew member said. "They're sending a message." On the screen, an alien appeared. It had blue skin and 3 eyes. It looked confused, scared. "This is Outpost 7, it said. "You're in restricted space. Please, Aiden." General Adams cut the message. He looked at John. "Your call," he said. John took a deep breath. This was it, the moment that would start the war. He thought of peace, of forgiveness. Then he thought of his children. "Fire," John said. The Phoenix's main gun lit up. A beam of energy shot out. It hit the outpost dead center. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the outpost exploded. Pieces of metal flew everywhere. The bridge was silent. They had done it. They had struck back. "Send the message," General Adams said. John stepped forward. He faced a camera. His words would be sent to every council world. "I am John Smith of Earth," he said. "You killed our children. You thought we were weak. You were wrong. This is just the start. We're coming for you. All of you." The message was sent. The war had begun. As the fleet turned to leave, alarms went off. Multiple ships incoming. Someone shouted, "It's a council patrol." General Adams smiled. "Good," he said. "Let's show them what we can do." The battle was short, fierce. Earth's new ships were strong, fast. The council ships didn't stand a chance. When it was over, the council patrol was gone. Earth hadn't lost a single ship. "Send another message," John said. Tell them this is for the children." As the fleet jumped back to hyperspace, news of the attack spread. The Galactic Council was in chaos. How had Earth done this? How had they built such ships? On a distant planet, a council leader slammed his fist on a table. "Find them," he shouted. "Destroy them." But it was too late. Earth was no longer an easy target. Now, Earth was the hunter. Back on the Phoenix, John looked out at the stars. He felt different, not happy, not sad, just determined. "We did it," General Adams said, standing next to him. John nodded. "It's only the beginning," he said. As they traveled home, John thought about what was next. The council would fight back. Hard. But Earth was ready. The war had started, and humanity was going to finish it. In her lab, Sarah finally got her new weapon to work. She smiled. "This will help," she thought. "This will make a difference." All over Earth, people celebrated the first victory. But they knew it was just the start. A long war was ahead. But for the first time in a long time, Earth had hope. They had shown the galaxy, "Don't mess with humanity. We fight back." 3 months had passed since Earth's first strike. The galaxy was in chaos. The war had spread like wildfire. John Smith stood in a war room on Earth. Maps of the galaxy filled the walls. Red dots showed where battles were happening. There were a lot of red dots. "We've hit them hard," General Adams said. "But they're hitting back harder." John nodded. He looked tired. They all did. War was not easy, even when you were winning. Suddenly, alarms blared. A voice came over the speakers. "Council ships approaching Mars. All defenses, engage." Everyone ran to their stations. John and the general rushed to a big screen. They watched as Earth ships met the Council attack. The battle was fierce. Lasers lit up the space around Mars. Ships exploded on both sides. "We need more ships there," John said. The general nodded. "Sending reinforcements now." In her lab, Sarah worked faster than ever. Her new weapon was almost ready. "Just a little more," she muttered. An assistant ran in. "Dr. Smith, the Council is attacking Mars." Sarah looked up, worried. Then she looked at her weapon. "It's time," she said. Back in space, the battle wasn't going well. Earth ships were strong, but there were too many Council ships. Just when it seemed hopeless, a new ship arrived. It was smaller than the others, faster. "What's that?" John asked. The general smiled. "That's your wife's new weapon." The small ship flew straight at the biggest Council ship. It fired a strange beam. Suddenly, the Council ship's weapons stopped working. "It's a power drainer," the general explained. "It shuts down their systems." With the big ship helpless, Earth's fleet quickly won the battle. Mars was safe. News of the victory spread fast. People cheered in the streets. But the war was far from over. In a secret council meeting, alien leaders argued. "How are they beating us?" One shouted. "They're primitives." Another slammed its tentacle on the table. "We should have killed them all when we had the chance." The council leader stood up. "Enough. We will crush these humans. We will use the Planet Killer." The room went silent. The Planet Killer was their most powerful weapon. It could destroy entire worlds. Back on Earth, John and Sarah finally had a moment alone. They stood on a balcony, looking at the stars. "I miss them," Sarah said quietly. She was thinking of their children. John hugged her. "Me too. But we're making a difference. We're making them pay." Sarah nodded. "My new weapon worked," she said. "But I'm scared, John. What if the council has something worse?" John didn't answer. He was scared too. In space, more battles rage. Some planets joined Earth's side. They had also suffered under the council's rule. Earth's fleet grew bigger, stronger. They won more battles than they lost. But the cost was high. Many brave soldiers died every day. John visited a hospital full of wounded soldiers. He talked to them, thanked them. Their courage amazed him. One soldier, badly hurt, grabbed John's hand. "Sir," he said, "are we winning?" John smiled sadly. "We're fighting," he said. "And we won't stop until we win." As John left the hospital, he got an urgent call. "John, come quick." It was the general. "We've intercepted a council message. They're planning something big." John rushed to the war room. When he got there, everyone looked worried. "What is it?" John asked. The general played a message. They heard the council leader's voice. "Prepare the planet killer," it said. "Earth dies tomorrow." The room went silent. They had come so far, fought so hard. Was it all for nothing? John looked around the room. He saw fear in people's eyes, but he also saw determination. "We've faced worse," John said. "We'll face this too. Together. For our children. For Earth." As night fell, the people of Earth prepared for their biggest battle yet. The war had escalated. Tomorrow would decide everything. The day of reckoning had arrived. Earth's entire fleet gathered near Jupiter. They were ready for the biggest fight of their lives. John Smith stood on the bridge of the Phoenix. He looked at the faces around him. Everyone was scared, but determined. "The planet killer is coming," General Adams said. "Our spies say it's bigger than anything we've ever seen." Sarah's voice came over the radio. She was in a ship nearby, with her new weapon. "John, whatever happens, I love you." "I love you too," John said. He turned to the crew. "For Earth, for our children, let's end this." Suddenly, space itself seemed to tear open. A massive ship appeared. It was the planet killer. It was as big as a moon. "All ships, attack formation," General Adams shouted. Earth's fleet moved as one. Thousands of ships against one giant enemy. The battle began. Lasers and missiles filled space. The planet killer's weapons were strong. With one shot, it destroyed 10 Earth ships. "We need to get closer," John said. "Sarah, can you disable its weapons?" "I'll try," Sarah replied. Her small ship darted towards the planet killer. But the council ship was ready. It fired at Sarah's ship. "No," John screamed, watching Sarah's ship spin out of control. Just then, a group of alien ships appeared. But they weren't attacking Earth. They were attacking the planet killer. "This is the Free Planets Alliance," a new voice said. "We're here to help Earth. The Council's tyranny ends today." With new allies, the tide of battle turned. Earth ships and Free Planet ships fought side by side. Sarah managed to stabilize her ship. She flew close to the planet killer and fired her weapon. The giant ship's weapons went dark. "Now's our chance," General Adams shouted. "All ships, focus fire on their main reactor." Every ship in Earth's fleet fired at once. The planet killer's hull cracked. Explosions rippled across its surface. In a final, massive blast, the planet killer exploded. The force knocked ships back. When the light faded, only debris remained. A cheer went up across the fleet. They had won. But John wasn't celebrating yet. "Sarah," he called. "Sarah, are you there?" For a long moment, there was silence. Then, "I'm here, John. We did it." Tears of joy filled John's eyes. They had won, and Sarah was safe. In the days that followed, the galaxy changed. The Galactic Council collapsed. Many races joined the Free Planets Alliance. Earth became a respected member of the galactic community. Their bravery had inspired others to stand up to the Council. John and Sarah returned home as heroes. But their first stop wasn't a celebration. It was the memorial for the lost children. They stood there, holding hands. "Do you think they would be proud?" Sarah asked. John nodded. "They would. We made a better galaxy for all children." A year later, John stood before the new Galactic Assembly. Representatives from hundreds of worlds were there. "We've been through dark times," John said. "We've lost much, but we've gained a new understanding. We're not alone in this universe, and we're stronger together." He paused, looking at the assembled aliens. Some looked like humans. Others were very different. But all were united now. "Today, we start a new chapter. Not just for Earth, but for all free planets. We'll explore the stars together. We'll face challenges together. And we'll make sure no innocent lives are ever threatened again." The assembly cheered. It was a new era for the galaxy. As John left the stage, he saw Sarah in the crowd. She was holding a baby. Their new daughter, adopted from a world that had suffered under the Council. John hugged them both. He looked up at the stars visible through the dome ceiling. Those stars didn't seem scary anymore. They were full of possibility. "Ready for our next adventure?" Sarah asked, smiling. John nodded. "Always. As long as we're together." And so, humanity stepped into a brighter future. They had faced their darkest hour and emerged stronger. The galaxy would never forget the day Earth fought back.